Hi there, welcome to Terraland Soap Opera. Today I'm going to do a reading for Pisces energy. And like usual, we're going to do two rows. The top row I'll refer to as like high vibe Pisces energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Pisces energy, because we all have our dualistic nature of free will. And we all can struggle within ourselves. We might like to move forward in life a little differently, have a little more hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams, and to heal or grow or mature ourselves or something. But the bottom row can represent kind of our more shadowy nature, our fears or our insecurities. And, then the two rows, just like we have our dualistic nature, we're dealing with other people in their dualistic nature. And sometimes we have people in our life who align with our more high vibrational nature. They're loving, they're encouraging, not trying to manipulate us or control us. And then we might have some people in our life who align with our more worldly, shadowy nature, which can just be wanting to stay in our comfort zone. But it can also be that they have some of their own fears, insecurities, lust, and greed. And those people could want to be in friendships or relationships with us or stay in them with them, but they more align with our more worldly, shadowy nature. So we have the free will choice within us of what aspect of ourself we more align with, and then we have the free will to choose what kind of people we align with in the world. But there could be some people really kind of battling within themselves, because we do have to make these decisions in our life. And when we choose to maybe move forward in life a little differently, or we heal or grow or mature ourselves, or expand our perception of ourselves in the world and what we believe is possible, sometimes we're kind of not on the same page as some people that we used to hang out with. And then sometimes they don't like it, and sometimes we don't kind of like to do the same things we were doing. So it's kind of on the bottom row, we have the hangman reading, or the hangman card, which is Pisces energy, which can talk about that we feel stuck. And when we do feel stuck, also in Pisces energy, it could have been something that, when we started doing something or living life a certain way or had a certain job, friendship, or relationship, we thought it was going to be emotionally fulfilling and that we were going to enjoy it, and we probably did. But that's the thing with life. You go through these different phases of life because you look at life a certain way and you go live your life a certain way. And then as time goes by, though, we do learn lessons in life. And over time, we kind of do look at life differently than we maybe looked at life before. And the hangman could talk about, because of maybe feeling stuck, or because of some life experiences or other people, there's a lot of things that can enlighten us to the truth: books, movies, music, art, creativity, other people in our life. And because we do meet all these different people in the world who look at life a little differently than we look at it, right? And then that can kind of make us kind of question, well, why do I live my life the way I live it? And, why don't I look at life like that? I have free will. And so we can just feel stuck. And then we do start, it kind of forces us to maybe look at life differently because we feel stuck and we don't like feeling stuck. So that's the reason also why the reading came out. Something, happens in our life where we feel kind of stuck, and we want to move away from feeling stuck in the Ten of Wands. We want to move forward. The reason for the top rose reading is the Tower card. And the Tower can be that, again, we could have been enlightened to some truth and looking at life differently than we looked at life before, right? Or something happened in our life. The Tower can represent that we thought we were in relationship with some people where we thought we were kind of operating from the same truth, that we kind of viewed life the same way, that things we maybe found emotionally fulfilling and our dreams and aspirations that we had, we thought were kind of the same. And then the Tower can be that it didn't work out the way we wanted. Well, so how are we going to take action? We can all feel stuck. We could all feel a little stuck right now. Well, if we're in more high vibrational energy, we try to see the truth of it. How did I contribute to this situation of feeling stuck? Where do I need to heal and grow and mature myself? What about the people I was hanging out with? Where do they maybe need to heal and grow and mature themselves? And maybe they did heal and grow and mature myself and I didn't. High vibe energy of the Tower is being willing to deal with the truth. Shadowy Hangman could be that maybe, we have our own way of viewing life at any given moment. And maybe we're not ready to kind of move forward and be more bold or brave or confident. Um, and maybe some other people are. So, well, let's get back up to the top row. The Tower card can also be that you realize that someone you were in a relationship with, you thought they were kind of on the same page as you, maybe in their emotional maturity level or something. And then you could have found out that they really operate more from their pride and ego. And in your Pisces energy, you could have worked through some of the things that could have kept you more stuck or in your pride and ego, but you worked through your own shadowy energy to be in the Two of Pentacles to get more balance within yourself. I can be tipped out of balance where I'm kind of more about myself or still caught up in things from the past or in my lust, my greed, my pride, my ego, my defensive nature, whatever it is. But you worked through the issues that made you feel stuck. Apparently, we're going to be hopping back and forth. So, how did you work through your shadow nature, and how are some high vibe people working through their shadow nature? We can all go through things, and the Tower can even be unexpected. Like, a person could lose a job, a friend could move away, your best friend or something. People do things that, wow, you did not expect that. you know, we could get some clarifier cards on it if I think we need it as we go, but sometimes the rest of the cards kind of tell the story. We can all feel stuck at times. We can all kind of be going, the Two of Pentacles can talk about, we're kind of going back and forth about the truth, like, shit, something just happened. Things didn't work out the way I thought they were. And in the Two of Pentacles are trying to kind of maintain balance within ourselves, that not let things that happen around us or how other people choose to act or whatever kind of throw us out of balance. It's like, uh, I'm just going to try to maintain balance within myself. There might be in the Two of Pentacles that I had to pick up my investment in someone. Somebody might have picked up their investment in me, but I'm going to work to maintain balance. We can all, in the Ten of Wands, feel overwhelmed while we're doing that, right? But again, the high vibe people, just like everybody else in the world, they can feel really overwhelmed, but they're inspired to keep maintaining balance. So the Two of Pentacles in high vibe can talk about balance, and the Justice card, represented by the Scales of Justice, can talk about maintaining balance. I don't want to drive my life off into the ditch. I don't want to take more shadowy energy action in my life. I don't want to take action more out of ego or because I'm overwhelmed. And when we can feel stuck and we can feel overwhelmed and we can feel maybe really disrupted within ourselves and like a foundation that we thought was safe and secure in our life, we kind of find out isn't. But we don't want to take impulsive, reckless action, is what the Ten of Wands can talk about. So, you kind of, in the High Priestess, which is Pisces and Cancer energy, And the feminine figures can talk about how we think and feel. The masculine figures can represent the action that we're taking in the world and why we're taking that action. Well, the feminine figures kind of talk about why we're taking that action. The masculine cards can kind of represent also what's going on in our head and the action that we're taking. So, high vibe people, though, the high priestess can be in my Pisces Cancer energy, two water sign energies about hopes and dreams and love. And the high priestess also kind of represents our higher self. I could indulge my more immature nature, fearful nature, whatever, but I want to maintain balance within myself. I want to keep focused, like on the big picture. I don't want to backtrack. Because sometimes when things happen in our life, right, we'll let that stop us from moving forward and we will kind of backslide into some poor behaviors or whatever. So you stayed focused on the bigger picture and then kind of put in this work and effort to look to the future, focus on the future. Again, the Eight of Pentacles and Virgo energy that you're harnessing is I am going to deal with the truth, not going to stay. Shadowy Pisces can be where, uh, we keep kind of wanting to live in illusion and in denial of the truth. And it's like, nope, I'm going to deal with the truth. I'm not going to have illusions about things. If people have kind of showed me that they're maybe kind of prideful, kind of harnessing these energies in a shadowy way, and we'll talk about it in a minute. I don't like feeling overwhelmed. If people did things to make me feel overwhelmed, if people are juggling me, if I think people, shadowy Pisces can be where people are trying to kind of confuse people about the truth. So you could feel like some people were juggling the truth or kind of being two faced. And shadowy Pisces can be creating an illusion. And this can be anybody. Anybody, no matter what zodiac sun sign they are, they tap into Pisces energy, and they either tap into Pisces in a high vibe way, kind of hope and faith and belief and love, try to look at things from other people's perspectives, or they harness a more worldly, shadowy Pisces nature, which can be, well, I like to kind of stay in denial of the truth that I might try to present myself as a high vibe person, but I really might have all these issues that I deal with, and I really might be kind of juggling the truth about who I am, and I'm trying to create an illusion that I'm more high vibrational, just and fair, insightful, willing to put in work and effort than I really am. And then we get to the Seven of Cups where, uh, people can buy into the illusion for a while, but eventually, as you move forward with people in friendships and relationships, if you're trying to maintain balance and be just and fair and kind of act with character and integrity and putting in work and effort to try to bring this dream into reality, and the Seven of Cups, the Scorpio energy, wanting to be, move things forward and also have deep, meaningful relationships where we detach from the past. We pick up our investment in the past, an old way of living life, viewing life, old relationships. Uh, if we're going to work together with someone to have this new beginning. And if it's love, that it's supposed to be from love. And it's supposed to be this deep, meaningful relationship. And again, some people just create the illusion that's what they want so that people will work together with them. But for some people in the Ten of Wands and shadowy, they're kind of more maybe overwhelmed. Some things happen in their life too, but it can just be to get in a relationship, or like one job didn't work out. I'm just going to go get another job and I'm going to create some illusion about why that other job didn't work out, just like people can do about relationships. And they, can put in initially in the Ten of Wands a lot of work and effort to try to make it work. But if that's not really the truth of who they are, it can seem overwhelming for them because that's not really the truth of who they are. And they're trying to present themselves again like they're more stable and balanced and insightful and mature and have the job skills and characteristics and background to be able to perform that job or function in that type of level of a relationship, but they're really not, you know, and they're hiding that they're more immature. But they didn't do this work within themselves. High vibe people did do that work. I could operate more from my pride and ego. I could, shadowy Ten of Wands is Sagittarius energy, which anyone can harness, which is that I kind of, I have some lessons to learn, but I kind of hide that I kind of indulge my more immature nature. I don't have good boundaries. And so I keep kind of indulging my more immature nature, or my stubborn nature, or my prideful nature, or my bossy nature, or egotistical nature, or lust and greed and pride and ego, whatever. But because they might just be unstable, because something didn't work out, because they're maybe in their ego, and instead of doing this work within themselves, some people, they just decided I could work through these issues of mine. I could work through all those things that overwhelm me. And I could get down to what my truth is of what really motivates and inspires me. But High Vibe Sagittarius is about higher learning and education, and that does take work and effort. You have to work through all that emotional confusion. We think the way we think, we act the way we act, we view ourselves and we view the world, and all these things that we think are just and fair. We'd really have to work through, why do I think the way I think? Where did I get all these ideas? Whoever told me I should think like this, or think this is living the dream, or you know, or all these different voices in my head. Who put all those thoughts in my head? Who put all, what is my truth? And some people don't ever do that. Other people did. And the Five of Swords comes after the Four of Swords, and after the Three of Swords, and the Three of Swords can be being heartbroken, which is kind of what the Tower can represent. Something did not work out the way we wish it would have, and it really could have, even if people had people in their life that they thought were more balanced and just and fair, were more insightful, were more motivated and inspired to be like more just and fair and authentic and loving. And then maybe some people dealt with people in their life that they really viewed them as being those type of people, but they could have acted like those kind of people. They could have presented themselves as those type of people, but it was just kind of an illusion. And so then people who are in relationships with them, have this confusion. And the Five of Swords talks about this mental conflict that we have, because we can know people. People can wear a false mask, and people can present themselves any way they want to in the world. And some people do a very good job at it. And in a lot of ways, we could have really enjoyed being in family dynamics with them, in friendship dynamics, in workplaces with them, in community socializing events with them. But there could have always been something about it that we could have kind of found it a little overwhelming to work with them, and we didn't know what it was. Why do I feel, and maybe people had to indulge some people, because again, shadowy people can be trying to present themselves as more high vibe, and people kind of buy into the illusion of who they are, And so they're working together with them, viewing them as like a more high vibe person. And they got their own issues to deal with, right? And so then they could really invest in those people like, oh my gosh, these people, they have got it going on. I am going to hitch my wagon to them. And some people can have high vibe people in their life too, and they just don't really live their more authentic truth. Either way, it can make people feel stuck and mentally conflicted, because if I'm not really listening to my own intuition about what is my truth, and both the Justice card and the Eight of Pentacles in high vibe can talk about what is my truth. And some people could have a lot of mental conflicts. Some people could be overwhelmed. And, we can move forward with people who we think, oh, wow, those people are really just and fair and stable and balanced. And then there's something about it that is like the the Seven of Cups in Scorpio can be that we could feel it's a little more superficial and shallow. And then can you imagine how hard it is? If nothing else, we've watched movies and read books probably, that to be in a relationship with people that you really do maybe hold in high regard, and that was your experience. You didn't, it's kind of like people growing up in a home, and you only have your home to kind of relate to, unless you spend a lot of time at other people's houses. But otherwise, for majority of your life, probably when your formative years, you think this is just and fair. This is how people interact, whether it's good or bad or superficial and shallow, or not, right? Or problems and fighting and whatever. But that's how you kind of think is the way to go. And if some people seem to be like things work out for them, but you kind of feel stuck and conflicted, you don't kind of want to repeat that pattern because you think they're presenting themselves as more authentic than they really are. And some people really have dealt with people like that, but they still don't want to see the truth of it, because that can be like Scorpio energy within people. It can kind of be this black and white thinking, like, and that could have kind of been how your people were raised. This is how you're supposed to live your life. You're supposed to act like this and dress like this. And no, you're not supposed to be authentically more yourself. You're supposed to present yourself as a certain type of person, and the world will love you. And that is what is just and fair. And people grow up with people like that, and they can put a lot of work and effort to do that and have that certain status or image, but there's a part of them that kind of doesn't like it because it doesn't resonate with the truth. This might look just and fair in a lot of ways. In a lot of ways, it can be just and fair, but I just think it's more superficial and shallow, or I don't think you really are who you present yourself as, or maybe that's what you present in the world, but really someone's prideful, someone's immature, someone kind of overwhelms the other person, or the other person has to do all the work, and the other person kind of gets more indulged. And some people have more of a problem of just acknowledging that truth. I see that kind of relationship dynamic going on. I don't like that. I don't want to do that. That's not my truth. And other people could have a problem with it, but they just have a hard time admitting to themselves maybe that some of the people they were dealing with are just a fallible human being like the rest of us, and they're not all saints, but they can have a hard time with it because they really did view them in high regard. And then it's hard to reconcile, how's this person, and that I maybe liked a lot of things about it, how do I reconcile the fact that just kind of admitting to myself that there was things about it though that I didn't like that maybe made me feel overwhelmed and made me feel stuck. So there's some people who still have mental conflict about it. For some, right? That's one story. There's other people that really are more shadowy. They could have some people in their life, flaws and all, but they were doing the best they could, but they could have had some people in their relationship dynamic that are quite more on the narcissistic tinge, a little more stubborn, prideful. That's really not their truth. That's not how they want to live their life. But they could have had to work with those people and try to maintain a semblance of, yes, that is my truth also. But that's really not their truth. But because they were in a workplace, friendship, family dynamic with those people, they also had to present themselves as being on that same page. But then maybe if something happened, well, then some of those people, well, for one, they could have been overwhelmed. And then they have this choice to make. Is this really my truth or isn't it my truth? And kind of the same way sometimes when we could have a relationship breakup. We were living our life a certain way when we were in that relationship. And that's where sometimes people have to say, why should, in a way, my way of feeling about myself, believing in myself, enjoying my days should change just because I'm not in that friendship or relationship anymore. I am going to keep that momentum of my life going, and I'm not going to let whatever this is that happened kind of disrupt the flow of how I had been living my life before something really disrupted it. Some other people could have something that doesn't work out the way they wanted. And it could be really more upsetting to them if during the process of living their life in something that might have seemed more just and fair and balanced, that they weren't doing the work within themselves to feel more balanced within themselves, because some people can get in a relationship just to feel more balanced, and they can seem much more stable and balanced and all that when they're in a relationship. But then when they get out of a relationship, it's kind of like some people's vice is like drugs or booze or whatever. Some people's vice is I get in a relationship. And then whenever they're not in a relationship, it can be very difficult for them to kind of maintain balance within themselves for some people. And then in our more shadowy energy, and again, it takes work and effort to work through emotional confusion, work through disappointments and setbacks and all those things in our life. And I think if we do keep putting in work and effort to stay focused on what could be, keep maintaining balance within ourselves, which is offering kind of like love and encouragement to ourselves. Again, Cancer, Pisces energy to our overwhelmed nature. We offer truth and love to ourselves to work through it, to keep focused on the future and maintaining balance within ourselves, and kind of be in that hopeful believing spirit, and kind of be willing to dealing with the truth of something we probably weren't seeing before. And maybe I was caught up in illusions of people, and maybe I didn't see that some people were more immature, or some people were more prideful, or some people were more overwhelmed, or some people are unstable, or some people want to win at all costs and don't care who gets hurt, or more about themselves and having a certain ego and image. The high vibe people work through it, And the other people kind of either look to try to get in a relationship to be the answer, but that probably blows up in their face because they keep not dealing with the problem. And again, they could be hiding. The pages can just mean that they're more codependent or they're immature. And they might have a problem at trying to really work more cooperatively with people because they have this way of viewing life that kind of what they think is just and fair in a relationship, and it could be kind of wanting to not have to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves, be indulged in a relationship, think it's just and fair. So sometimes people find themselves in these more mismatched relationships, and as we go through a relationship, the stumbling block can be kind of going to the next level in a relationship, in the sense that it becomes a more deep, meaningful relationship. And some people are like, well, why do we have to do that? I think this is just and fair. Let's keep doing this. You're maintaining balance. You're putting in work and effort. You're a just and fair person. I'm kind of hiding and presenting myself maybe as being that kind of person, but I might be in it more out of my fear or my insecurity or my pride or my ego or my lust or my greed or just indulging myself in it. And I don't know if I want to move the relationship forward differently, because that would require they work through the energy of this card. What is it? The King of Wands. So, in tarot, we have the pages, the knights, the kings, the queens, the emperor, the empress. We have someone up here in kind of aligned with being more balanced within themselves. And in truth, they are more aligned with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. They already worked through some stages of life where they maybe used to indulge their more immature nature. And then they did get inspired that I could keep doing this and indulging my more immature nature or my egoic nature or my more worldly nature, not deal with, keep repeating this pattern, but I don't want to do that because I keep repeating an old pattern and I keep feeling stuck and things maybe don't work out the way I want. So eventually, on one hand, they get out of being more about themselves and these things of the world that they're kind of fired up about, because the fire signs, it's fire sign energy, and I view the King of Wands as Aries energy, which can be being a little, Aries energy is about the self. So we can all have been more immature, all these things we kind of wanted to indulge ourselves in, trying to act like a more balanced, emotionally mature person maybe than we really were, getting different jobs, friendships, and relationships. Some of those don't work out the way we want. And then we can want to go get in another relationship to feel better. And, shadowy energy could be where we keep looking outside of ourself for the answer. But the answer really lies within ourself. And until we kind of reject this more being fired up to look outside of ourselves or to these things of the world to be the answer, and instead we get inspired to, you know what, things need to change. The Five of Swords, the Fives talk about change. The only person I can change is me. I need to kind of look at life different, or I'm going to keep doing this over and over and over, and I keep not getting anywhere. So then the King of Wands can talk about being willing to grow up and mature yourself, and kind of being like a good mother, father, coach voice to your more immature nature. Is this how we really want to keep living our life? We can, if we want. We're probably going to keep feeling stuck and have a lot of mental conflict. Or we look at life differently and we expand our perception of ourselves and the world around us and what we believe is possible. And in our Aquarius energy, we look at life from a higher perspective. We put things in perspective. We work through our mental conflict and our past pain and heartbreak and all of these things about in our life that we do wish maybe could have been different, that we might blame for why our life isn't going the way it is. And we can blame everyone else, and then we can get to where that, well, where's that get me? you know? And again, the only person I can change is me. So I need to let the past and whatever kind of make peace with it. And Pisces energy and the Cancer energy and the High Priestess is kind of offering love to it. And I'm going to offer love to it, see the truth of it, heal from it so I can let it go. And then I'm going to move forward in life a little differently. I don't want to repeat some of those old patterns and ways of being and ways of thinking about myself and the world and blah, blah, blah. I want justice. And that takes work and effort. And I'm going to put in that damn work and effort. And that part of that is still working through the emotional confusion about the fact that in our emotional nature, there are these things in the world that we want. But if the only people kind of in our environment are immature people or people who create an illusion but they're unstable, well, then, we have to decide that, the people in my life who do work together with me in a just and fair and stable and balanced way, and love is supposed to be just and fair, they treat me in a just and fair way, I treat them in a just and fair way, and we're both willing to put in work and effort, value the relationship, truth and love. Those are the people I'm going to focus my time and energy on. Could there be a lot of options you have available to you, but you're listening to your intuition about the different people in your environment, partly in your shadow nature is like, oh, damn, this takes a lot of work and effort. Like, when is this cycle going to end? Because we can move away from certain people and we can put in this work and effort and we can work through the emotional confusion, and we're like chipping away at detaching emotionally from that old foundation, but it does take time. And some people don't want to get in a, say, if it's a romantic relationship, they don't want to get in a romantic relationship until they have worked through that. I want to know that's done. And there could be other people watching you that would like to be in a relationship with you, but they don't want to get in a relationship with you either, assuming you're not in a relationship right now, until you've done that work. And you don't want to be in a relationship with other people until they've done that work. Because nobody wants to get in a relationship with someone who has all these unresolved and mixed feelings. And Scorpio does talk about that. We are these emotionally complex human beings. We can have a lot of contradictory thoughts towards people in our life. I hate them. I love them. I don't ever want to talk to them. I hope they call me tomorrow. And to really work through that. So I'm done. Now, there could be some people in the world are doing that. They know there was some people in their life that they had really probably put a lot of work and effort to try to make a relationship work and move it forward. If that's with people they work with, friends, family, whoever. And you can be in those friendships or relationships for a long time. And there's a lot of similarities that we can have and a lot of things that we enjoy about the relationship. But eventually it can kind of get to be where, for the relationship to kind of go to the next phase of life, that's kind of when you kind of realize that someone's like, well, I don't want to do life any differently. I have mental conflict about that. We should just keep doing life the way we've been doing it. But that's like somebody wanting to stay like an 18-year-old forever, or a 21-year-old forever, or a 25-year-old forever. We go through these phases of life, we learn these lessons, we kind of see what things we should kind of, it's time to let go of those, and what are the good building blocks to take with us. And then we kind of face our fears about detaching from some of those old ways of thinking or believing or perceiving the world and habits and whatever, and we move forward in life to have this kind of new beginning. Just like we had to do when we quit being like an 18-year-old to be more like a 21-year-old, and we quit being like a 21-year-old and put some of those more immature ways behind us to be more like a 25-year-old. But for some people, they did have this way of viewing life that, well, I maybe did those things and went through those stages of life just like everybody did. But I had this view of life that once I got, to a certain stage in life, that was my end goal. I never was ever planning to do life any differently than this way I had imagined my dream life. Because the Five of Swords and Aquarius can talk about our dreams, and Pisces can be this dream that we had that. And then some people kind of reject being more inspired to high vibe energies about being more independent of the past, independent of conforming to the world, making our life about all these things we could have made our life about, where we're kind of really ready to live our more authentic life. Could we be in the same job, have a lot of the same social group, do some of the same things? One of them can just be willing to be in a more deep, meaningful relationship. Let the relationship go to the next level. And some people are like, nope, I'm not doing that. I get hurt doing love. If I even feel like I'm getting male or female, where, oh my gosh, I'm starting to feel like I'm almost willing to let my hopeful, believing inner child out to play in the world, their ego and their defensive nature will kick in, and they're like, nope, you can go. You represent the danger zone. I'm not willing to do that. I have mental conflict about, I hide my more inner child nature and hope and faith and belief. And that's where it can be that people are hiding that it kind of is being in the relationship for how it's good for their ego and their image and status and enjoying being in the relationship. But to really do love, well, that now we've crossed the line. Can I kind of have love for you and enjoy being in a relationship with you? But it's kind of more like having sex with someone, but you don't really, and it can be passionate sex, but it's not really love. And then the people who are in a relationship with them feel kind of stuck and have some mental conflict staying in a relationship with them. And by worldly standards, it can all look really good and look really just and fair and be like everything people could dreamed of. But it's kind of confusing because I kind of feel like it's the illusion of love. And then you start to think, why are you in it? What is the driving factor? Is it more to be in a relationship to be in a relationship, so long as it's good for your ego and your image and someone who you can get along with, but it is kind of more like you indulging? And that shadowy Scorpio, where life's about death, sex, and taxes. It's like, this works for me, and I'm having sex with you. It's like, well, I don't know if I want to stay in a relationship. And that's kind of the heart at the foundation. And so some people did, and some people are getting out of relationships with people like that because the truth of their foundation that drives them, motivates them, and the action that they take in their life that they think is just and fair is they really kind of are operating from a more egoic defensive nature, which can be shadowy hangman. I'm unwilling to look at life from any other perspective. That would be require me to look at life from maybe a higher perspective, and I don't look at life from a higher perspective. And that's when you kind of feel someone, whether they're male or female, was kind of hiding that it was kind of more about how it just benefited them. Because if you're not in a relationship, that's how you build a solid foundation, is on love. Well, if that's not it, what is it? Well, so long as it's good and we get along and, it looks good. But the thing is, that's like building a foundation on shifting sand. Well, what if someone else comes along who seems to maybe seem like they'd indulge you more, where you maybe wouldn't seem like you have to put in as much work and effort to kind of maintain balance within a relationship with someone who is more balanced and motivated and inspired by love, and you could kind of give in to being more immature or being indulged, or maybe they're more immature and they could seem like the person who needs to change, and like you're the more mature person in a way, and I'll go get in a relationship with someone who's more immature than me, and then I'll seem like the more stable ground, because that's what it can be. You could sometimes feel like you're in a relationship where one person kind of has a lot of growing and maturing to do in it, has to kind of like temper themselves or mature themselves. Well, that might be if you're in a more imbalanced relationship. Hopefully, high vibe people get in relationship with other people who work together with them cooperatively. They're both motivated to take responsibility for maintaining balance within themselves. I don't need to have like a parent figure in my life trying to get me to self discipline. I just self discipline myself. And then I want to work together with other people who do that. But some people are more codependent. They try to get in relationships with people who maybe are more loving and nurturing because they haven't really learned to love and nurture themselves. And we always like to be in relationships with people who are loving and nurturing, but because they're kind of codependent and they haven't done this work within themselves and maybe healed, sometimes in a relationship, if they see the other people in their life continue to keep healing and growing and kind of maturing themselves, it's kind of like, how am I supposed to go to that next level of life when I'm kind of overwhelmed just trying to do this? Because this is kind of like above my emotional maturity level, or I really don't like being like this, and I'm really more like some other way, but I can't really be that way in this relationship. Odds are they might take some action that even could be hurtful and unkind and bossy and controlling in order to stop the high vibe people in their life from continuing to keep healing and growing and maturing themselves. Because, like, you're stepping way out of my comfort zone. And in order for me to keep moving forward with you, I would have to be inspired to work through some of these issues that keep me stuck and in my head and in my mental conflict. Or I could just indulge myself. And so then they try to manipulate and control people. And eventually, if that doesn't work, then it's like, you can go, I'll go find someone else to get in a relationship. And then, you know, if they're kind of a little more prideful and egotistical, and they might know they're kind of immature, and they might know they're kind of stubborn, and they might know they're kind of bossy or controlling, or um, and they might know they don't really want to do love authentically. What they have going for them can be their ego and image, and so then they might try to confuse people about the truth of the high vibe people in their life, and so that people will view those people as like a bad person or an immature person or whatever, basically project all their negative traits and characteristics onto those people because they want other people to be in a relationship with them and not see through the illusion of how they try to present themselves in the world. But some of the people that got in relationship with them did see through the illusion, and they let go of the illusion. In a lot of ways, this can look really just and fair, but I think you hide that you're a little bit more about yourself, that you're kind of stubborn and maybe egotistical and maybe kind of full of yourself, or just have these kind of inflexible ways of viewing life where you're just not willing, like, this is the way people should live their life, and if you don't live your life like the way me and some of my friends or whatever or family members live our life, then you live in fantasy land, and you don't get the point. This is the point, that we should be in relationships and stay in relationships for these reasons. It looks just and fair, and it's like, it's kind of more making your life about looking like a shining star in the world and how people view you and perceive you, and never kind of really living just your more authentic life. Like, would you do all these things, and would you be concerned all about these things? What if you were on a desert island? you know and it wasn't like, well, what about what are the other people doing, and where are they going, and what kind of functions do they attend, and how do people view them? Well, then we should attend those functions, and we should go to those activities, and we should hang out with these people so people view us a certain way. It's like, how about we just go live our authentic life and do what we want to do? Oh, we can't do that. I have mental conflict. That would require me to look at life differently than the way I look at it. And I was brought up to, we're supposed to do this and this and this, and it's supposed to be about the world and making our life about these things. Like, I'm going to let you make your life about those things. You go find someone else who wants to live their life like that. I have seen through the illusion, and I'm going to go live my authentic truth, have no ill will towards anyone, treat other people with truth and justice and love and encouragement. We need more people who love and believe in themselves. But I'm just not going to make my life about conforming to some way of viewing life. That shadowy energy can be those things that we find restrictive and confining and imprisoning. And high vibe people aren't trying to cause conflict or upset in the world. I just want to do and invest in things that really are aligned with my truth. Sometimes some of the people in your life didn't like the fact that you really did enjoy those things and you really got into it. And they might do it more for the superficial reasons. And then they didn't like that, like you were the real deal. And they're just kind of creating an illusion. And then they don't like that. They kind of get in their pride and ego that, well, I thought I was going to bring you into my life, and this is the things that we do, and you did them, and you enjoyed them. And then they're like, well, but you authentically enjoy them. We do it more for the status and the ego and the image. And I kind of don't like that. It causes me some upset and inner conflict and confusion, and I can't quite figure out what it is and why I'm kind of in my ego about it. And part of it is because they don't want to see the truth, that they do it more for these superficial reasons, and you really did do those things because you really kind of got into it and enjoyed it. And then it bothers them that you're like the real deal, and that as time goes by you kind of see that they're not. And they are just creating an illusion. And it is all this pretense about the type of person they are. So, high vibe people are maintaining balance within themselves, putting in work and effort, looking to the future, believing in their dreams, detaching from people in their life who they have seen the truth that that's not their truth. Now, there might be some people as you're moving forward that between the Two of Pentacles and the Eight of Pentacles is kind of like the Justice card represents the Six of Pentacles, which can be, I would like to get to know you. If I already know you, I might want to see about if we can work things out. And I think if people, for some, it might kind of surprise you. Some of the people who, from your past, who might want to work things out with you, some of the people who don't, you know? And I think you'd be willing to, with some of the people, I think no matter who it is, you're going to maintain balance within yourself. And if your intuition tells you that they're still juggling the truth, or there's someone who does juggle the truth, or there's someone who's two-faced, or they just want to juggle you and someone else, I think those people, you listen to your intuition. And if your intuition tells you, nope, that person isn't telling the truth, or they're not, they're kind of more shadowy or immature or something, I'm moving on. And if other people seem like, they are willing to work with you in the Six of Pentacles, in truth and love and character and integrity, some of those people you could have new beginnings with. And then as you're moving forward and meeting other people in your life and working with some of the people currently in your life, sometimes with those people, we realize as we get to know them more and spend more time with them that they're kind of more on the same page as us. And that can be a shock too. I think no matter what, when the high vibe people could have some more immature people, prideful people, hurtful people, maybe, tried to manipulate you, tried to prove a point, I'm not going to change, and thinking you wouldn't love and believe in yourself. As you keep moving forward, those people keep seeing that, they had the free will in a relationship to get out of their stubbornness and their pride and ego and work through some of their issues that make them act that way and work together with you from love and do some equal give and take. But that isn't how some people handle things. And they're like, I could do that, but I don't choose that. I am letting go of that choice. And instead, I'm going to choose to act in these other ways. And sometimes they're hoping that you aren't who you say you are. You won't keep standing up for what you believe in, and you'll give up and you'll come back and do it the way they want you to do it. And some of you said, I've been there and I've done that. I don't want to do that. I am moving forward with or without you. And some of those people who weren't willing to be more bold and brave and confident and maybe grow up and mature themselves and reveal the truth and try to heal situations with people, those people, you get set free to go on to have a new beginning because the truth sets us free and you saw the truth. You did the work and effort to really grow and heal and mature yourself, work through your fears, your insecurities, your pride, your ego, your mental conflict, and you get set free to go to the next phase of life to learn more lessons. But they don't get to move forward. And they might think, and they can try to create the illusion, but until you learn the lessons you meant to learn, you're the same person kind of in your emotional maturity and the choices and decisions that you make and how you treat people as you did in the last relationship or job. And if they try to get themselves in a relationship or a new job to try to make it look like, I've healed and changed and grown and matured myself too, for some of those is blowing up on them. Because the people who work with them the most, even if, people can work with people again, kind of buying into the illusion, but eventually, if they're in relationships with people motivated and inspired by truth and love and justice and fairness, it's going to blow up on them because that's not the truth of who they are. Some people look to get in a relationship with some people who've experienced a disruption in their life, who they think might be kind of overwhelmed, who they think that maybe either have that hopeful believing spirit, still haven't learned some lessons about some people like this in the world, and maybe kind of more a little caught up still in the world instead of listening to their intuition to try to get that person. It's like, hey, you haven't learned about people like me? Well, come on in, pumpkin, and you're going to learn about people like me. You know, and that is part of a phase of life that we have to learn that people can present themselves as these very stable, maybe just fair, enlightened people, and they're really not. And part of the reason we maybe had to go through a phase of life with them is because maybe we didn't listen to our intuition. Our intuition could have been screaming in our head at the beginning of those friendships or relationships or the job interview. But I don't know, I think it'll work, and I'll just put in work and effort, and I'm sure they're really motivated by love too, and I'm sure they'll grow up and heal and mature themselves, and then they don't. It's like, are you willing to see the truth now? And when we accept the truth, then we don't keep staying stuck with a lot of mental conflict, wanting to stay in denial about some of the people in our life. So what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming? I would say right now you're either working to do this work to get balance within yourself and work through your emotional confusion and probably distancing yourself from some people to kind of take some time to look at life a little differently, or you've already moved on in a new beginning and you're already working with other people who are more stable and grounded. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Pisces energy that they might not see coming? Okay. We have a card not showing itself, and the reason is because of the Three of Wands and the Page of Swords. So, the Three of Wands in fire sign energy again, we had these dreams that we wanted to have come into reality. All we can do is communicate our truth to other people, and then we keep moving forward, and then those people have the free will and have to work through their own issues. In the meantime, I'm not going to keep juggling. I'm just going to keep moving forward. And eventually it's kind of like, well, apparently we're not on the same page. So you had this dream, but you were also inspired in the Page of Swords, which can represent your air sign energy of Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius. What I think is just and fair, my dreams and aspirations for myself and my truth, I'm also inspired by that. And kind of loving myself, believing in myself, because again, the Three of Wands is Aries energy about the self, and also my more hopeful believing, kind of like inner child nature. I'm going to stand up and protect that, and I'm inspired by the truth, and I don't want to settle for an illusion. So what you don't see coming is as you do this, through this process, I think you're going to more detach from the last remnants of how you could have harnessed this energy in a shadowy way, which then, when you disconnect from that, you disconnect and let go of some of the people in your life that they harness it in a more shadowy way. The Two of Swords. So the Two of Swords is Libra energy. Some of you could have been dealing with a Libra, but it could have just been just like the Justice card. There was people in your life who you thought were more aligned with truth and love and justice and fairness, but you could have kind of seen the truth that they're kind of a little bit more about themselves. and you weren't seeing that. And again, you know, we can be in relationships and friendships with people for a long time, and we don't realize that it's kind of really more about how it benefits them. And maybe so long as we stay in more codependent energy, they like to be in a relationship with you, whether it's a friend or family member or romantic. But when you start to work through some of your fears and insecurities, and you kind of um, are like a loving, supportive person within yourself, and then that's the kind of relationship you now want to have with them, and they could be, but I like playing this role in people's life. I like it when people are overwhelmed and look to me like maybe I'm this wise person, this enlightened person who seems to maybe seem like I got my act more together than you. But then if you do that work within yourself and you kind of freed yourself, and now you want to keep moving forward in the relationship, it's like, well, then I'd have to work through my issues to move forward with you in that way. And I kind of like this dynamic, or I'd have to detach from some people that I'm maybe overwhelm me and manipulate me or my own more immature nature. And I don't want to do that. I'll just go find someone else to be in a friendship or relationship with that is overwhelmed and looks to me, And that's why you could have gotten in a relationship with them, because they do seem maybe like a just and fair and stable, balanced person who likes to play that role in people's life. But they like to play that role in people's life because it kind of boosts them in their ego. But when they would have to maybe works through some of their issues to move forward in life, it's like, me, I don't got to change. I don't have to do anything. And it's kind of like, you know, I don't know, you're moving to the next phase of life and they want to repeat this old phase. So they'll go repeat it, and they could repeat it all their life. If they're more about their pride and ego and looking like a shining star in the world, that's what they're going to make their life about. If they never want to take more bold, brave, confident action in their life and they want to keep repeating an old pattern, they just need to find someone who's willing to do that with them. If they like more codependent relationships, they need to go find someone who's more codependent. But when people get in a codependent relationship, some people like seeming like they're the more stable, grounded, or whatever person. But just like children eventually kind of want to leave the nest, and they want a more just and fair relationship, and they don't want more like a parent child dynamic. And that's what some of these people don't see the truth of. They like that type of relationship dynamic. They can be loving and encouraging and supportive, but they never think the other people, I don't know, will become more independent. And some of these people have never become more independent. They still let the world manipulate them, their ego manipulate them, other people in their life manipulate them. And so they think, well, of course, you won't become more independent either. But other people do. And they want to live their authentic truth. And they're like, well, I don't live my authentic truth. I hide my authentic truth. I make my life about these things. You should too. It's like, well, that's your free will. If that's what you want to do, do it. Enjoy your life. And I think you're cutting out, you're no longer going to be in two minds about the truth. As you have spoken your truth to people and enlightened people to your truth as you've went on this journey, you see who works through kind of their past pain and heartbreak. The difference between the 5 and the 2 is the 3 of Swords, and their mental conflict about the truth, to listen to their intuition. And you're no longer stuck, and you're no longer in two minds about the truth. You see who is motivated to put in work and effort with you into that dream and who wasn't. No more illusions. I saw the truth. And I'm listening to my intuition now. You're harnessing up here like high vibe Aries and air sign energy. And you could have had to let go of some people that in their Aries energy of themselves, in their Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius energy of kind of what their truth is and what drives and motivates them, you just see it's different than yours. It's like, okay, we got different dreams and aspirations. What's coming up for the more worldly Pisces energies that they might not see coming? The Ace of Pentacles. Why? Because of the Emperor. Well, some of these shadowy people, they want to look like a boss, male or female, or I want to control people ultimately, but I could try to hide that. The more immature someone is, and the more stubborn someone is, and the more egotistical someone is, and more about themselves someone is, it's like an addiction. But I want more power, I want more control, I want it to be more about me. And then some of them, it's all about this looking like a shining star in the world. Well, I could get in relationships with people who are loving, that might be beneficial somewhat, but that's not enough. I want more. And so, because they're more tempted by these things of the world, that's what ultimately more drives and motivates them in their fire sign energy of themselves, because they're sure that is going to make them happy. They will probably keep being tempted by things of the world. There's other people in the world that are willing to offer them these things of the world, like, well, I'll indulge you, or I'll have sex with you, or I'll let you be bossy and controlling, or I'm more codependent, or I'll offer you money for you to indulge me. And some of them are like, hey, that is the name of the game. Whoever has more of these things of the world, that's shadowy energy. Whoever has more of these things of the world that people want should be the person who's indulged. And some of these people thought that in relationships they were in with loving people, well, they might find out what it's like, because they might have to get in a relationship with someone and they would think, well, that is the way the game is played. Those are the most important things. So if those people have more of those things, then I'm going to indulge them for it. And then they might find out they have some mental conflict about that. Well, why is it more about you? Well, you used to think it was supposed to be more about you. Well, but you're kind of immature and kind of think I should do all the work. It's like, well, didn't you kind of think you could be kind of more immature and indulged in a relationship and other people put in more of the work and effort? Weren't you happy with the illusion when you were the more privileged, pampered person in the relationship, male or female? Well, maybe now you might kind of have to pamper someone else. And you're the one who is supposed to be happy because it looks great. Well, for one thing, they're investing in their own shadowy nature. Their own shadow nature doesn't have their best interests. Their shadow nature doesn't care if they end up in the gutter, dead. Their immature nature is going to say, damn, that was great. And some of the people in their life aren't going to give a damn. And what they don't see coming is more high vibe people in their life are going to have mental conflict about taking these things of the world that they offer people. Because the people in their life want love and emotional maturity, self insight, balance. And some of those people are like, you know what? You do you. Oh, but you look like a boss, maybe. Look, I look like I have justice in the world. I look like I'm a high vibe person. And some people are like, yeah, I think I've seen the truth of who you are. And I don't care how much you offer me to maybe look like a boss in the world with you. It's too high a price to pay or to keep paying, staying stuck in a mental conflict with someone like this. But there'll be other people who have lessons to learn from these people. And those people will get in a relationship and they might buy into the illusion for as long as they buy into it. Eventually, those people will leave. And the people who will ultimately stay are probably the people who also have mental conflict about love, who are more about the ego and the image. Yeah, I'll work together with you. And they could kind of, if some people are quite immature, they might have someone who comes in that is like willing to be like a parent figure to them. I know I mentioned this in a reading a while back. I don't know what zodiac sign it was, but it's kind of interesting when you know someone who's kind of immature and reckless, and then they get in a relationship with someone who really, oh yeah, no, they don't ever go out, no, they don't ever get to go anywhere. Whoever they're in a relationship with is really tied down, and an emperor is higher level than all these other people on the table. um well, if that's what that person, how they want to live their life, I wouldn't want to live my life where I've got to, like, I don't know, like, be a prison guard on someone, but some people like playing that role in people's lives. And if they can find someone who's willing to play that role in their life and stay in a relationship with them for their own reasons, then they found a match. But they also might find someone who, you want these things of the world. If I get in a relationship with these and what I bring, whether I'm attractive or charming or got money or whatever, um, then you have to indulge me. And some of those people might be like, okay. and eventually they'll be like, shit, why'd I get in this relationship? And and then they'll have to decide what they want to do. That's their problem. In the meantime, you're moving forward with whoever in your life is communicating their truth to you and willing to be just and fair and authentic. And the other people are going to learn some hard lessons in life that you've maybe already learned, but they hadn't. So there you go, Pisces. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.